The divers boiled out of the diving bell, a wet mess of inky neoprene and rubber tubing. They looked like a mass of black snakes. Oleg tore off his regulator and ripped the helmet from his head. It clanged on the steel of the diving platform, shattered faceplate glittering in the sodium light. Jesus, fuck. Yevgeny, it got Alexei. It tore him. He paused and threw up a mass of foam and blood. I knelt down beside him, cradled his head. You didn't decompress properly, Olya. I could see bubbles of nitrogen moving through his skin. His scalp felt like bubble wrap as I stroked it. I knew I didn't have long. He didn't have long. I turned his swollen face to me, locked his eyes with mine. What did you see, Oleg? Is the rig in danger? He wiped a trail of mucus and blood from his mouth and spat pink, foamy gobs onto the platform. It came out of nowhere, Genya. Nowhere. And it was huge, Captain. Massive. It... He doubled over and clutched his midsection. The blue water in the bottom of the diving bell bay boiled and bubbled. Streaks of pink shot through it as the divers coughed and vomited their ruined lungs into the swirling water. They all died one after another within minutes, their bodies bent and broken by the pressure and nitrogen bubbling up in their blood. The whole dive team of 5, minus Alexei, still out there in the deep, 600 meters below the wine-dark sea. We met in the mess of the Aberdeen after the divers died. I brought up the topographical map of the rig site on the monitor. It glowed green in the darkened mess. The 6 of us remaining on the rig gathered around it like Macbeth's witches around the cauldron. We lost contact with the deep water team here, I said, tapping the screen at a point labelled Dunsinane Abyssal. About 80 meters from the Aberdeen. The team made it back, all except Alexei, through this channel here. Whatever they encountered was within 200 meters of the rig. That was about 20 minutes ago. Our last service mission was at the wellhead here. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Mikhail sat up and cleared his throat. We don't know how fast it's moving, or even if it's moving, Genya. True, Misha. It could be some sort of sessile hazard, but remember, Olya said it appeared out of nowhere before it got Alexei. I think this implies movement. Vasily leaned into the light of the monitor, giving his face a sickly greenish cast. You're the captain, Genya. What do you think? And more importantly, what do you think we should do? I sat back and crossed my arms, my chin dropping to my chest. I won't risk more of us going out there. Not now. I think we must assume Alexei is dead and beyond rescue. 5 heads nodded in reluctant agreement in the half-light of the mess. I think we send out the ROV. We can side-scan a sector around where we lost contact in a few minutes. Vasily, can you get the corridor in the water quickly? I can, Genya. Yes, she is ready for duty. Thank you, Vasya, I said. Nikolai, I said, levelling a finger at the drill master and safety officer. Secure the drilling rig and bring it up to safe depth, and make sure the life rafts are operational. Of course, sir. I shut off the monitor and grabbed my foul-weather gear to head topside. Let's see what's out there and what took our friends. The ROV shack was on the afterdeck, and 3 of us crammed into it. Vasily, who would pilot the car door, myself, and Nikolai. Mikhail, the rig medic, took over deck operations to get the ROV in the water, assisted by Lavrenti, the roughneck, and the rig's cook, Anatoly. We dropped the ROV into the churning waters and watched her descend, lights on her bow dimming from blue to green to purple as she dropped towards the Dunsinane Abyssal. I opened the window on the ROV shack and shouted down to Mikhail as spray hit my face. I tasted salt. Misha, fish get in the water all right? Aye, Zhenya, she's swimming and all the controls are green. 200 meters and dropping fast. Mikhail shouted back. What do you show for bottom depth here? Misha checked the deck readouts for the sonar. It's 612 meters. Should take about 4 minutes. Okay, remember, we are looking for risks to the rig and ourselves. We are not on a recovery mission, understood? The 3 wet sets of foul-weather gear on the deck nodded in unison. A bank of monitors lined the desk inside the ROV shack, and Mikhail had a weatherproof version on the deck, all showing readouts from sensors on the ROV and a live stream from her camera. The corridor's camera only showed swirling seawater and the occasional curious fish as she dropped towards the bottom and whatever lay in wait for us there. In the few minutes it took her to descend, scattered thoughts crossed my mind. What the hell are we looking for? How did we go 3 weeks here with no indication of trouble? Then, suddenly, what happened to Alexei? What did the divers find? Or did it find them? Vasily chewed his nails and Nikolai smoked those foul cigarettes he always got from Poland. Albatross brand. Kolya, give me one of your death sticks there. You smoke now, Zhenya. Just for today. Tomorrow I'll quit, I said. He shook one out and lit it for me. His hands were steady. I motioned for him to give the pack to me. What? You want them all now? He said. I turned the pack to face him and showed him the white bird swooping low over the sea. You know the symbolism of the albatross to seamen, Kolya. I'm a drill master, not a poet, Captain. I know pipes, oil, and mud. Symbolism is lost on me. Many people think they're an omen of bad luck. Others say to see one out in the open ocean signals good fortune. They can't both be right, I said. Which do you think it is? I pulled deeply on the cigarette and let the smoke fill my lungs, the cherry glowing red in the darkened shack. I think it's only bad luck if you kill one, I said. A soft ping from the bank of monitors and a glowing green indicator told us the corridor had reached the bottom of the abyssal. We sat back and waited, for the clouds of silt kicked up by the propellers to dissipate, the screens showing only abstract whirls of white, tan, and blue. I keyed the mic on the radio to alert Mikhail. We're on the bottom, Mikhail. Well done. We've got it from here. Aye, Captain. Can Anatoly go work on making us his usual indigestible dinner now? Yes, Misha. Tell him to use less salt this time. I can feel my arteries hardening, I said. Take your beta blockers, Zhenya. Let us know what you find. Deck crew signing off. Over and out, Captain. Over and out, Misha. I heard the afterdeck hatch clang shut below. Vasily took up the corridor's control joystick and leaned in towards the now clear monitor, showing the ROV's front camera as she rested on the bottom of the Dunsinane abyssal. Sand spread out in front of the little robot. A plain, white surface, only broken by the occasional small ridge or rock. I'm heading to the spot where we lost communication with the dive crew, Zhenya. Visibility is about 30 meters, water temperature at 1 degree. ROV battery at 91%. Okay, Vasa, keep her a little high in the water so we don't stir up the sediment. Aye, sir. Vasily was all business when engaged in a task that required attention. Some men joked or spewed profanity, but Vasily became the very picture of focus. He only ever called me sir in such moments as this. The rover continued on to the spot for several minutes. A few discarded bits of pipe and small machinery passed under the ROV. Evidence of our incursion into this inhospitable environment, but otherwise, all we saw was an unbroken plain of white. And then we saw a boot lying on its side in the sand. Captain, Vasily said, I see it, Vasya. Slow to 3 meters per second. Aye, the boot was the same type the divers wore. Heavy in the sole, with a latching mechanism to affix it to the pressure suits. Ivanov was stenciled along the side, Alexei's surname. Keep the speed the same, but drop down a few meters, Vasya. We're not looking for Alexei, we're looking for risks to the rig, and us. We watched the boot grow in the pale light cast by the corridor's lights, then pass silently beneath the small craft. I heard a stifled sob from Kolya, who was typically stoic. He and Alexei were fast friends, and seeing this undeniable evidence of his death must have had an impact on him. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. I'm sorry, Kolya, I said. We knew we would find this. I know, sir. It won't happen again, he said. You're human, Kolya. Don't pretend otherwise. I know you and Alexei were close. Captain, Vasily said, breaking the silence that stretched out between us. Water temperature has risen 3 degrees in the past 10 meters. Chemical sniffers are also picking up traces of ammonia. Keep us on this course. Time to turn on the side scan and see what we can see, I said. Side scan on, Vasya said, flipping switches on a control panel to his right. A fan of green pixels began sweeping back and forth on the sonar monitor. No targets, sir, just sand. How far out are we reading? I asked. MBES is set at 200 meters, he said, referring to the multi-beam echo sounder. That's good. Keep it there, but let's up our speed to 5 meters per second for now. Aye, sir. We've been fishing for about 15 minutes. Systems check, Vasily. Aye, sir. Battery at 64%, pressure and electrical systems nominal. Water temperature has gone up another 6 degrees, currently at 10 degrees. Depth. He trailed off. Vasya. I saw a flash of consternation pass across his otherwise focused face. Sir, the depth reads at 200 meters and it's climbing. 200 meters? The ROV is still on the bottom. It makes no sense. Malfunction? I asked. Could be, sir. She checked out pre-flight. But at this depth, anything is possible. That it is, Vasya. Anything. Note it and let's move on. We'll check her out when she's topside. Aye, sir, he said. And I'm getting some visual interference now. The view on the monitors, which had been showing nothing but unrelenting sand and Alexei's boot for meters, now began to shimmer. It looked like the heat waves given off by hot blacktop on a summer day, or distant mirages seen in the desert. Vasily tapped the screen, a useless move, but a reflex we all have when machines seem to be betraying us. The ammonia levels are also rising, temperature up to 25 degrees, and depth now showing as surface. I tapped the screen as well to no effect. The waves on the image continued to undulate and move. Percussive maintenance ineffectual, Vasya. I think this is a true image and something is creating these waves. We'll have to ignore the depth gauge for now. I'm not liking where this is going, not in the least. Speed up to 10 meters per second. Let's cut this short before we lose the corridor, I said. Anything on the MBES? Negative, sir. Ah, hold on, he cut off, looking at the MBES readout. The sweep of the green MBES tracer had outlined a target at its furthest reaches, a partial arc of solid green. The target shifted shape from a featureless blob 1 second to a series of pointed formations the next. Vasya, can you push out the MBES? Give me another 50 meters, I asked. Aye, sir. MBES range now 250 meters. As the sonar extended range, the size of the target could be seen, at least the leading edge of it. The strange arrays of waving lines continued to pulse and interweave, but it was clear that it extended far back from the edge that the MBES could detect. Gentlemen, ideas? I asked Vasily and Kolya. The ROV camera has still not picked up a visual of the target. We could only see the morphing filaments of whatever it was on the MBES display waving and moving like kelp. Only pipes, oil and mud, Captain. This is not either one of those. I have no idea what we are facing, he said. Vasya? We have to assume that whatever this is, and here Vasily tapped the MBES readout, is what our divers encountered, and what killed Alexei. It is not sessile. It is advancing on the corridor, and therefore, on the rig. It is highly mobile, and its intent is unknown. We came here to look for threats to the rig, and we found one. Better that than it finding us. I think we should declare an emergency and call for rescue, abandon the rig. These are the words that no captain ever wants to hear. Abandon ship. I am not one for theatrics, no one on an oil rig ever is, but I felt a stab of cold fear run through my heart. I motioned for another albatross from Kolya and spoke through the side of my mouth after he handed it to me, lit. His hands now shook like a pensioner's. Very well, I agree that the risk is there. Protocol demands that I declare an emergency and inform my second in command. I turned to Vasily. Seaman Petrov, I am declaring an emergency aboard the Aberdeen due to unknown submerged hazards and prior loss of dive crew. Please notify onshore command that we need rescue and prepare for EV. Collier, who had been watching the ROV monitors, interrupted me. "Captain, the screen. Zhenya." The mass on the MBES had advanced and was now within 30 meters of the corridor. The camera feed from the ROV showed an advancing wave of sand and silt boiling in front of the little robot and a looming dark mass behind the wave of sand. The video feed slowly darkened and the shimmering waves we'd been seeing on the screen intensified. The green target now filled almost all of the MBES display, its waving pointed appendages all coalescing and directed straight at the ROV. "Water temperature at 80 degrees Celsius, Captain. It's nearly cooking the ROV. Ammonia levels above reportable range. The ROV is sending a proximity warning." The MBES screen image shifted again, the shape gaining more definition. A bulbous and bullet-shaped trailing part was now distinctly separate from the hundreds of writhing shapes that advanced on the ROV. It was over 80 meters in length. It grew more streamlined as it gained on the corridor, becoming perfectly fusiform in the last few meters. Then the writhing shapes fanned out in an instant as it closed the distance, like an umbrella opening. As the klaxon from the ROV's warning system sounded its tinny alarm, we three watched the video feed turn black, then start to lighten, turning the color of a dead fish's underbelly. "Captain, what is that fucking thing?" Collier asked, shaking. "It's a kraken," I said. We caught a millisecond's view of a massive beaked mouth surrounded by pale flesh that extended out into webbed tentacles. Then the screen went black, and the main malfunction alarm on the corridor went off. Within seconds, the general alarm for the Aberdeen also sounded,